Okay.
I think
Live.
Remember, you're on mute.
Welcome.
he's actually muted
Yes.
himself. Like how?
It got me right on the spot. So yes, what a starting point. Amazing starting. It appears I'm having a bit of a technical now today because it's like my microphone has decided that it wants to keep quiet. Okay, I'll try not to move it around too much. But yes, thank you to everyone for joining us today on the Enterprise Corner as we discuss the journey to great. I know that there's some great matches on today, so we'll try and be as brief as possible, but also to try and get this story started. So, welcome to those who are with us, those who are joining us. Please, when you actually manage to give us your name, where you're joining us from, and give us what your expectations are from today. Today, we'll be discussing building something that's great or the journey to greatness based on Jim Collins' Good to Great and also our personal aspirations as entrepreneurs. We'll be recapping on building things that last, creating value that we talked about last time, those 5 areas that you have to work on, creating the core value of your business. But then we're also going to talk about the 6 pillars of greatness. And then we're also going to tie it at the end with our personal aspirations. But the key point here is the 6 pillars of greatness. Please write in the comment section what you are expecting to get from today. And welcome to my co-hosts, Shadrick, our Chartered Accountant, and Kenny, our business specialist. Kenny, we hope to have you for majority of the show today. So welcome, gentlemen. Shadrach, how has your week been?
My week has been fantastic. I've rested quite a lot. I've not left the house in the past 2 days. I've been inside for 2 days. I've not stepped out of the house. So
It's
it's been quite an interesting 2 days. From Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and today is the second day I've not been out. So I'm feeling pretty fantastic. Yeah, feeling
resting
good.
people, very important. That's how you get to greatness.
Yeah.
Kenny, how have you been doing, my brother?
I've been okay. It's been an interesting last 7 days. Busy trying to put things together. Finally making a move on the art of sales, and it's been a tough week as well. Certain things that we're practicing, certain disciplines that we're putting together, and as a result, yeah, we're here today, and hopefully, like you said, I'll be here until the end.
All right. So thank you to everyone. Thanks, guys. But let's kick it off today. Where in our conversation about the journey to greatness, we built on the first time, I think, a couple of weeks ago, on Jim Collins' Built to Last, and the importance of building with durability. And just as a recap, he gave 4 principles and five mechanisms that he sees in companies that were built to last when he studied many of them. And one was that they focus more on the design. They build designs of companies that can run automatically. They call it clock building and not time telling. So in other words, you focus on building the mechanisms that run the company and automate it. And then he talked about going for and not or, always trying to see if they can have inclusivity in ideas, trying to blend things together, going beyond profits. Yes, you need to be profitable, but you also need to be purposeful, meaningful, and intentional, as well as being profitable. That is the difference between a company that's doing well now and a company that will last the test of time. And he talked about preserving the core while stimulating progress, adhering to your core principles while stimulating progress. In addition to this, he mentioned 5 mechanisms that he finds in companies that are built to last. The first one he called BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. Things that people will say, look, we're going for this, we're going for the stars, aspiration. He talked about a cult like culture, a deep culture, one that repels people who are resistant to it, but deeply attracts, almost like cadres, if you want to think about it. And I always talk about Apple users. And the Apple users are cadres, people. That's though they're very strong when it comes to that. But they love it, and that's what I mean by a cult like culture. Experimentation and learning to keep what works and throw away what doesn't. Homegrown talent management, in other words, hiring from within and elevating. and never allowing themselves to get comfortable. So that is the importance of durability. Before we move on to the next topic, gentlemen, what do you recall about or even think about building things to last as we talk about the journey to greatness?
Okay, who goes first?
Well, Kenny, since you spoke, there you go.
Okay. The whole time you were speaking, it reminded me of a certain lesson that I saw Miles Monroe teach. And he was teaching on the principle of what's the most important component of an engine, motor vehicle engine. And he gives an example of a battery. He gives an example of the components that basically create combustion in a combustion engine. And he was asking which one is the most important. Most people probably pick a number of things. Might be the spark plug, might be the battery, might be the cable that connects power to the engine for it to be fire up. And you find that you can go back and forth debating what is the most important component, but you quickly realize that all components are important, and you really can't quantify which one is the most important. And when you look at their value, and this is something that is actually spoken about when you talk about being good to great. When you look at their value, the price of a battery, if you're buying a brand new one, cannot be compared to the spark plugs. Spark plugs are like 200 kwacha or 181. The battery is like 2,000 plus. Now, the cable that connects the battery and the spark plugs might even be under 20 kwacha, right? But all of them together are components that make sure the car actually fires up. And it's this realization that makes good to great businesses. It's when you start moving away from price, product, technology to value. When you start realizing what is the value that we are creating, that we're putting together as a business. When you start unveiling that, it's like a secret. It's like extracting from raw materials, Then you start to create what we call a well-oiled machine. That's why when we break down some of these things, you can't be successful without having a good team. You can't be successful without having a system. You understand? You can't be successful without having a great product. All those things must work together. Okay, and for me, that is like the genesis of it all, and like the self-realization of moving from good to actually great. Because some businesses get so entangled with the idea of being too special. We're such a special component, so because we're special, we're more valuable than the other. And that's where they normally miss it. And that's where you find that even when they've existed in the same harsh environment, even when they've existed in the same same times, same situations, they will fail because they can't master the art of realizing the importance of this cable, that battery, that spark plug, and how it fires up the engine.
Kenny, I'll add to that. I think there is one strictly very important component: the meaning, the purpose. The purpose of something determines the value of everything. That is actually the biggest component of it all.
Excellent.
And simply because why you want to use something will determine the importance of the components that are important in it, because of the role they will play in that purpose. But no individual component is important on its own. Is so important, but it only becomes as important when there's a direction and a destination that needs to be added to it. So that is what determines anything. And I'll add to that. That is important. I always think, Kenny, about things like the charging cable in a phone. Like if you're not the charging cable or the charging port, as tiny as that thing is, if that thing stops working, your phone is dead. Like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so tiny and it looks insignificant, but you will know its value the day it stops working. Shadrick, let's talk about durability of companies. Okay, we mentioned all these factors. Now, in terms of greatness, what is it that creates that lasting company that can ascend to greatness?
Teamwork, Mnyumba. Teamwork. And this is a fundamental part of every business that's going to last the test of time. The people within the organization. The reason why Nokia did not succeed was because there was no proper teamwork. The mid-management were intimidated by the senior management. So much so that the mid-management saw Nokia falling apart. They knew exactly what they needed to do, but no one came up to suggest. This was contained in a report by a professor who conducted an interview with 76 managers of Nokia. And they confirmed that they knew they were going to lose. They were losing, but they couldn't come out because the top managers were so focused on getting bonuses. So they didn't care about the team spirit. They cared about bonuses. All right. So for a company to be able to last, there is power in identifying employees that are going to contribute to the value of the business. I would rather have an average employee who has a very good attitude to teamwork than have a very smart employee who has a poor attitude to teamwork. Because teamwork is what's going to make the company to move forward. When people begin to feel they are part of the business, they become, like family. They work towards achieving a common goal. That's why we say that if you are a business owner and you have very bad habits, very soon you're going to be an employee. And if you're an employee, you have very good habits towards work, very soon you're going to become a business owner. So there's so much power in habits and teamwork. All right. That's the point that I would like our audience to get as we talk about build to last. You can't build something to last with confused people. The circles of people within the company determine your success. This is true. I've worked in parastatals before, Mnyumba, and I'm going to tell you why some of these people are not successful, because people have got this mentality of saying Niva Boma. Niva Boma, Mnyumba. Niva Boma. So what? Who are you? Most of them, they say Niva Boma. So they don't, people are like, don't really care about the company because they say Niva Boma. But you need a team of people who care about the company as if it was their own. People look at the business as their child. See the Nokia CEO, how he cried when he lost that job. He said, I've nurtured this business. Literally, even the Microsoft CEO cried when he left his position. He said, I've seen this company go to, it was my second son. All right? That's what he said. So because he was committed to ensure that Microsoft succeeds, the man felt the gap when he left the company. So you need people like that, people that appreciate the value of working together. You don't need to be smart to be successful, but you need to work with other people in harmony so that you can be successful. So remember my last words. If you are a business owner who has very bad habits, very soon you're going to become an employee. And if you're an employee with good habits, very soon you're going to become an employer, and you're going to build something that's going to last because you have a good attitude towards teamwork and you see value in other people. You can't succeed, Mnyumba, if you don't see value in other people. It's difficult. So it is based on value, teamwork, quality employees, all right? And also the vision. Where do you want to be? Make it clear to the people in the company. Because once they understand the vision, they understand the objective, they are going to work towards achieving that which you set forth that you should achieve. That's what I would say about Build to Last.
You know, Shadrick, I will add something. There was a speech. There was this. Yeah, go ahead, Ken. Go ahead. Just quickly before.
I wanted to add something very tiny. The word deliver. When Shadrick was speaking, I remember that one of the key ingredients that made me a successful music producer was that I delivered. I had a manager, the owner of the business, who kept very brilliant songs that have never even been heard. Talented musicians. Music never been heard. But regardless of how bad my song was, I put them out and I delivered. So sometimes it's not about the perfection of the work that you do. Sometimes it's just an issue of, have you delivered? And for me, I think that's where the sales conversation we had recently, it's about delivering. Have you delivered? Regardless in whichever form, right? As long as if you don't deliver, you're dead. You can't be great. Sorry, I cut you short there.
No. It's true. Yeah, I'll really add the importance of that. There's everything. Everyone has 100 ideas. It's what comes out that matters. It's really what comes out. There are plenty of songs that are in people's heads, but it's the ones that actually come out that become number one hits. So it's actually really important. Now, the what I was trying to add to Shadrack's was there was a conversation Simon Sinek had about what's it called, the Navy SEALs, and they said, what's the number one trait you look for when picking guys who are going to be part of a SEAL team that you're going to send out for an operation or anything? They said, he asked, is it skills? Is it marksmanship? They said, look, skills are important, but trust. Trust is the number one issue. You got to trust those people because your life is in the hands of your teammate. We're all like a team moving together here. And if we can't trust one, we're all going to fall apart. So that was very important. And it shows the important thing. Even Bill Gross said the top 5 elements of business success of startup success. Number one was timing, having an opportunity that was big. But number two was a talented team that could execute it. It was the value of the team. Before we even talk about idea, before we even talk about business model, and money was actually the last issue. Team was one of the top issues right there that actually affected the ability of a group to deliver. So, Shadrick, I think you were really head on there. And one of the greatest examples I can give of having a talented person, or at least a talented team in the country, was take a look at the turnaround of Zambeef. I think it was one of the best examples that bringing in that lady, bringing in who's the current CEO, Ms. Mukutu, bringing her in to manage the rationalization, the cost rationalization of the company, led to this recent success that led to the doubling of the value, the profitability, the resurgence, the debt reduction. It wasn't a change in product. It wasn't an injection of capital. It was a change of person. That's really all that happened there. It was just a change of person that then led to a fantastic boom of the company and now has turned that company profitable, growing with $100 million capital raising and off for regional growth. So you can see the value of people inside your business and why they're extremely important to getting to a destination and a direction. So yes, it's true. I think that's really important. Now let's take a look at the second part of the last conversation we had, which was value. I think last week, I think we may have missed Kenny on this one, but value. We talked about Michael Porter's value chain, and we talked about the core parts. And just to remind people that we one of the core components we said about delivering value, we talked about creating value, and value is just about doing something, making something, doing something, making something, finding something, managing something, selling something. That's value. Okay, that's where value is created. While it's also it's done, and it has to be your value is specifically doing, teaching, all those things in a way that is bigger, better, faster, stronger, simpler. We said cheaper, but cheaper is the last thing you want to do when you're starting. But just do it bigger, better, faster, stronger, simpler. That's really what we want to try and do here. But then we talked about the 5 components of a value chain, and that is inbound logistics. In other words, where you source things, operations, where you solve the problem. You create the solution that by solving the problem with the inputs. Outbound logistics, sending the product to the customer. Marketing and sales, selling the product to the customer. And after sales service, in other words, delivery, after sales service, and all types of things that helps keep up with the customer. Now, just remember that we always say that whenever you're starting as a business, our advisory point was to always start by serving and selling so that you can learn the customer while making a bit of money and then start to integrate backwards, because serving and selling is the least costly. Yet it's the part where money comes in, but it's the least costly component to get started in. Learning how to sell your product, how to sell your brand, how to sell yourself as the best option. Learning what the customer is struggling with, and then growing backwards from that and saying, okay, based on the customer's specifications, then I'm going to build this outbound logistics model. Then I'm going to build this operations base, and then I'm going to build this inbound logistics to look for it. And the best example I can give you of that is companies like Trade Kings, who started by selling just finished products. They started by selling groceries. Then they learned what groceries were important, and then they started slowly producing those groceries. Now they're even sourcing the inputs for those groceries. Or in fact, they started by selling, then distributing, then producing. Now they're trying to even go back to sourcing the inputs for those groceries. So what we've seen about greatness is that these are companies who understand value. And I think where I'm bringing it from is they understand value to the customer first. Before they start parading their value around, they first take time to understand value to the customer. And once they understand the true value that the customer is seeking, they then build a business around delivering that value bigger, better, faster, stronger, simpler, that in the way that they need to. So, gentlemen, what do we talk about when we talk about companies that are great, especially even in our perspective, and their ability to deliver value? Shadrick, let me start with you.
Yes, what makes companies great is how great they satisfy the need of their customers. And I'm going to give an example of FedEx. FedEx invented the courier service industry, guys. Those were like the first in the industry. And what made FedEx so great was that, look at their slogan. They said the world on time. FedEx was able to deliver at midnight, at 01, at 05, whatever time it was, they delivered, right? So it became so easier for people around the world to receive their parcels on time because FedEx eliminated a problem that was there before. In the past, if you ordered something online, you bought something from the UKS, it would take you months and months of just waiting. When FedEx came on board, FedEx eliminated that problem. So because that problem was removed of having to wait for months, people could receive their parcels just overnight, every day, every now and then. So they have to invest in planes, they have to invest in technology, they have to invest into a lot of things. So because they saw the value of technology and the value of customer satisfaction, FedEx was able to become the head of the industry they invented. They succeeded because they delivered value to the highest extent. It was a shock when FedEx came on board because you are sleeping at 02, you receive a phone call, nowhere outside, we brought your parcel, and then you're surprised. Are you for real? Yes, we are here. You see, these people have come to deliver your parcels. Now that's changed the industry, and a lot of companies that came after FedEx were able to learn from FedEx. They were able to deliver value to the fullest extent. Up to today, FedEx has remained on top of the industry they invented because they kept on improving on value. But I want to mention two things that I think made FedEx even more successful and more great. Was the ability to understand the change in economic environments. FedEx understood the power of technology. They did not say, you know what, like Nokia did, we are the biggest people in the industry. Nobody can kick us out. No, FedEx never underestimated the power of new entrants in the industry. FedEx was able to introduce different technology systems where people can track their parcels. When you order something from the UK, you're able to see how it is moving. Now it is being packed from the selling point to the warehouse, from the warehouse now we're in this country, this airport, all the way up to where you are. So people were able to track their parcels, and that gave them a lot of assurance. So people became comfortable dealing with FedEx so much that they never wanted to look at any other person who finds the same service as FedEx. So it is because of the way people felt about FedEx that FedEx became so great. So when you want to become great as a business, ask yourself a question. Is this business about you or about the client?
Yeah.
Look, I do family finance, guys. All right. I talk to couples about how they can improve their financial lives. And when I see how people are touched, people tell me, what, my husband and I have now built a pottery. My husband and now we've bought our two bells of Saraula. Now, thank you so much. We now made our first ever budget. It gives me so much joy to make money out of something that makes people's lives change. So if you're going to be a great business, you have to be sorting out a problem in people's lives. Just to be about people. So value should not be because you like it. It should be because people appreciate it. And now this is where I have to say, Mnyumba, we have to understand the difference as a people between passion, all right, and returns. A lot of people are passionate about things, but those things they are passionate about don't benefit anybody, all right? So you are passionate about this thing that does not benefit me. I'm not going to pay for it. So can you put that passion in the bin for now if you're a business and then focus on what people are going to pay you for? Once you make enough money, you can do what you are passionate about because you have extra cash to spend. All right. So when you are passionate about something, it's not paying your bills. So what? No, I'm passionate. So you are passionate about something that nobody's gonna pay for. So can you put your passion aside and focus on what are people going to pay me for if you're a business? Now, some people are fortunate, remember. For example, I'm passionate about sharing knowledge. I'm passionate about financial information. And I share it with people and they make a living out of it. I'm fortunate. Some people are not. They are passionate about something else, but nobody can pay for what they're passionate about. So what do? Find something people... you don't have to like what is giving you money. There are some businesses I do, guys, that I don't like. But you know why I do them? Because they give me money. So I have to do them. Because people appreciate those services. So it's about people, not about you. If you look at business from the perspective of the customer, man, you're going to be great. FedEx saw the problem.
Shadrick, I'd like to challenge something there, and not really you. I'd like to challenge our general definition of the word passion. Because under the Merriam-Webster definition, passion is something that easily arouses you to anger. It can be something, we talk about it in terms of an intense feeling, but I kind of look at it from the godly perspective of love. In fact, let me look at the word love. the godly perspective that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Loving something has got to be about other people. I don't think it's exclusive. I think we confuse the term passion. I personally think that we confuse that term passion, and what we utilize is there's a very self-centered approach. Oh, I find this interesting and I find it fun. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to find everything interesting and fun, but having a meaning to something, you have to love it. Even in the book Ikigai, when they talked about what is it that makes you live long, they say find something that you love. But the definition of that word love and passion, is it about you, or is it about how you feel that about how other people are doing something? Because intrinsically there, Shadrick, if it's a thing that is a problem to many people, then it's of value to them. And if it hurts you, then it's of passion to you. So shouldn't love, you think about a parent, you think about a spouse, true love, it's always about what affects the other person, okay? Or what it is, or being obsessed with what affects other people, seeing people in disarray, not being able to do that. So I think we need to really think about that word passion. And there are hobbies and interests that we all have, but passion should be something that affects somebody else that you feel so intensely strongly about that would already create a contract that a person would be willing to pay for it. But I just wanted to maybe put that out there in the mind. Kenny, what are your thoughts also about creating value for people? And I also will come back with an idea. Shadrick, you gave FedEx. I'm going to give a Zambian example of a company that's struggling right now to deliver value on our stock market. Sorry, Kenny, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll start by giving a practical example of using the Bible, creating value. Here's a young man called David, and take note, I just realized that most of the time we like to refer to these men of God as we put ourselves in David's situation, say, I'm a David, or a Joseph situation, you put yourself there. But realistically, it's the character of Christ that these people display, right? That eventually comes together as Christ. So when we talk about character. So now David is a young man who is doing what everybody least expects him to do, so much that even when Samuel arrives to look for a king, he's not there because he's out in the bush taking care of the sheep, without realizing that there was a 10,000 hours he was gaining from being there that was creating this value in him, okay? Which he later shows in front of everybody when he walks up to a scenario to bring food for his brothers, only to find a Goliath, okay? So you see that there's hours invested in a skill, trade, and knowledge. Something you can't. So you start asking yourself, is God there with him and doing it for him to beat Goliath? Or there's an actual process and system, like the book Good to Great talks about, that is created in the time that he's not doing what everybody else expects to be the things of value. He's doing something totally different that actually creates the value. Jesus is also another person that we can refer to who does something similar. It's said that at the age 12, he seated with the scribes. What is he doing? Studying, reading. You understand? Creating value. So there's a certain discipline that must happen first in a person's character. That's why sometimes you may think the devil is on you when in actual fact it's a redirection to go to Nineveh because you're trying to run away. You understand? Huh? It's a redirection because you have to deliver a certain value in a certain place, okay, that will change a certain environment, okay, because God has put you there. And I believe because if there's an absence of knowledge in an environment, people suffer. And Hosea 4:6 talks about it. God turns the other way when the people lack what? Knowledge. And knowledge is a critical component for developing or creating what? Value. The hedgehog concept that is talked about in the book. There's a fox this side that wants to take up just about anything and everything and tries to do everything. And we're a lot of us out there who try to do a whole lot of stuff, right? But for you to deliver value, you can't think of yourself. You have to think of the environment. You have to think of the impact. So even when we say we're designing businesses, we don't design businesses. Jim Rohn was talking about something. Is it Jim? What's his name?
Jim Collins, yeah.
Jim Collins was talking. There was a point. There was a speech that I heard him give where he was trying to define success and talking about it. He says we don't teach success. We teach the contrast between the poor and the rich. That's what we study. That's what he was referring to, because in it is where you discover that people are in the same environment, same harsh environment, but others are succeeding and others are failing. You know, the same resources, but others are succeeding and others are failing. You start to realize that the whole concept of knowledge refers to light. Where there was darkness, if someone acquires sufficient knowledge about it and they practice this, that's why you need to, find an area, find a niche and perfect that. You don't want to do too many things at once, right? You start this and then kill it, and start another and then kill it, and then start another and then kill it. But what you want is to perfect the art in a particular business or sector. Now, when you look at it from an environmental impact point of view, where you're now delivering value, what you now start to observe is that there are so many gaps. Africa, like Jack Ma post that I shared today, Africa has got so much potential in terms of young people. We've got the largest population of young people. We've got a lot of infrastructure that is missing, right, to foster success. So meaning we're at a pivotal point when it comes to the ability to succeed, because all these things that we need to be created, and somebody has to be there to create them. These things are not going to be created for us. And that's where the mindset problem and mindset change is. People are expectant that things must be done to them. But the Bible continuously reminds us the concept of giving and how it has an impact on the environment, how you must produce stuff that you must give. You must acquire the knowledge that you must give. I like what Shadrick said when he was saying for him, in his core values is this thing about giving knowledge and pushing it out. You get it? Once you start understanding that core aspect of your being as a person, you will notice that there's something special about you that starts to beam out. You understand? You're now ready to be in certain conversations with people because there's a certain area that you've observed that you can have impact, and that social impact is very beneficial. That's why I believe that there'll be a race very soon where people will be rushing for different opportunities and creating them and creating real value. And Africa, like Jack Ma says, will overtake China very soon. It will.
Yeah.
And that's just a fact, because China is already reaching that ceiling where innovation and whatnot. Now Africa is, because that's where the resources are. So now you have the resource, you have the people. What do you get in the end? So that's where I would look at this whole creation of value, the importance, the sharpening of the axe, the acquiring of the knowledge, and then it's not for your benefit. It's never was for your benefit. It's always something that you must get and then apply it where it's needed. And if you build your business around that, you will fly.
Applying your gift or your skill or your hedgehog where it's needed. This is a thing you're going to come in tune with, especially when we get into the 6 pillars of greatness. But I want to go through a few things, Kenny, that you just pointed out. A biblical definition of value for me actually is Jesus. He said it in John 14:6, which is actually one of the best value propositions. I did a breakdown of it a while back where it says, Jesus answered, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me. Now, he breaks down something quite important. If you break down this statement, you'll actually learn how to write a value proposition, because in Jesus, in that one sentence, he actually stated his whole value proposition to the people. I am the way. Usually your product is the access point to something. Okay, there's an emotion or something that this person wants. Your product is the access point to it. I am the truth. When somebody's in the dark about something, your product or service is that enlightener to it. Or I am the life. You are the thing that brings to life something that they were looking for. Your food brings to life that taste in my mouth that I was looking for. Without opening a Fanta, I can't get that taste in my mouth without buying it, it brings to life that sensation. So you are either the way, the truth, or the life. Then he goes on to say, no one can come to the Father. That is a statement of exclusivity. I am the only one who you can use for this. In other words, is that it's a rare and hard to imitate value proposition that he delivers. And then he also says, come to the Father. Everyone wanted to go to God. At that time, remember, God had been away from them for 400 years. And so in the context, the access to God was something that they all wanted. Everybody wants something. What is it the people you are serving want and deeply desire that you are delivering to them? So are you the way, the truth, and the life? No one can get to that benefit except through you. Okay, so he highlights what he is, what are the features that he offers to people, how is he the exclusive channel to get those, and what is the benefit that they're trying to get to at the end of the day, or the destination that they're trying to get to. You notice that all of that was about their benefit. His value statement was not about its benefit to him. Later on in the Bible, it says Jesus was elevated. But his value proposition, when he stands there and says, I'm the way, the truth, and the light, it never says anything to that. There's another concept that I wanted to just bring out here, was Harley Davidson, just as an example of thinking of value. So if you watch, I challenge everyone to watch the movie Harley and the Davidsons. It's actually the story. It's a 3-part miniseries made by the Discovery Channel, which talks about Harley Davidson motorcycles. And it talked about, there's a scene where Harley Davidson is with their competitor, Indian Motorcycles. It's the middle of World War I. Okay, they're just about to face World War I. And here they are, they're pitching for who would provide motorcycles for the U.S. Army and the troops in the U.S. Army who have just entered World War I. Harley Davidson says, we'll give you X amount of motorbikes at the same price, but for free, we will train the people on how to fix these motorcycles for free. Okay. And the American Army ends up ordering 10 times, ends up ordering double the amount of bikes from Harley Davidson. So his brother, this is Arthur Davidson who pitched that. His brother stands him and says, dude, why'd you give away so much? He said, think about this for a second. You've got a bunch of American soldiers who are about to face the toughest moment of their life. And what bike was there for them? The worst day of their life. We went to hell and back with these people. What motorbike do you think they're going to be riding when they come back from the war? And as a result, guess who became number one bike? At that time, Harley Davidson was number 2. Now they became number 1 because of a moment of thinking more about the customer than they thought about themselves directly, and offering that extra service just to go in there so that they could be in that battlefront with them, knowing that whoever was the bike. And there's a scene actually of an American soldier who actually comes back at the end with like one eye patch, and he had his eye blown off. He lost his friends, and he came to the Harley Davidson office and he thanked them. And he said, without my Harley Davidson, I would have never made it back. Tell me, do you think that guy will ever ride another bike in his life? No, because they've created a sentimental attachment. That's the issue of value. You also create that sentimental attachment that even if someone comes in cheaper, you still are the better option. That is so. It's a really strong.
Can I tell you something, Mtwala?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm cutting you short. It just reminds me of Airtel and their data, because the Indians.
Oh, Indian motorcycle, yes. I understand.
The Indians are not emotionally connected to the customers, so they don't understand the pain of seeing 60%, then 90%, then boom. We hear these testimonies every other day. I work for Airtel, so I know the internal issues when it comes to the philosophy the Indians implement on businesses. So yeah, sorry, I had to. So I thought about it.
Those specific ones, not all of them.
From a cultural point of view, you understand? What I'm referring to is a cultural thing.
The harsh business perspective,
Exactly. So instead of putting the customer at the center and saying, look, what are we going to do for the customer? Oh, God, it's different.
No, it's true.
It's different.
There's ever since the transition from Zain to Airtel, you can see the change in customer service. And you can see how brutal they've become towards the customer. You're a phone number to them. The way it's sitting, you're a phone number these days. Back then, you were a service point. And I want to talk about another company, by the way, that's actually failing now to deliver value that once upon a time delivered excellent value. Chibuku. That brand was the number one value deliverer. These days, that company is suffering. Why? Because I think they're struggling to understand their customer. They really are. They have gotten to the point where they believe they're entitled to their customers' money, where they have failed to innovate. Chibuku has been the same. I think the only thing they've changed is the bottle. Their friends in South Africa have tried introducing pineapple flavored, banana flavored, different flavored Chibuku. Here, they don't even attempt. Okay. And they're struggling because in a highly expensive period like now, where there's a lot of inflation, the cost becomes a strong factor, and they're struggling to compete with the guy who will make kachasu in a barrel, cut a 2-liter bottle open, and start selling that for 1 kwacha 50, while they're selling their chibuku cartons for 3, 4, whatever the price is now. Okay, so the reality is they're struggling to understand the value proposition of their product to their customer, because it was a cost-effective version of getting hammered. Okay, now whether we agree with this as a concept, the reality is the customers benefited, because here's the funny thing about Chibuku. If you go back to the beginning, okay, of how Chibuku was created, Heinrich saw the mine workers drinking out of barrels. He saw them drinking out of those barrels, the same things that they're doing with Kachasu now, and he created a superior delivery system for them. So he used to bring the barrels, then started the cartons, then started delivering. Oddly, they're now being beaten by the very thing they beat to get into existence, which means it appears they've lost their shape to their customer. And my biggest worry with that company, from a stock analyst perspective, is that it seems as though they've disconnected with delivering value to their customer, and now they're trying to find a new customer group. And therefore, I actually said in a recent analysis, you need to be able to then understand who's the non-Chibuku drinker right now, because right now they're targeting low income. Because the question is this: why is Zambia Breweries, who sells premium beer, doing better in terms of sales, while Chibuku is declining in terms of sales? Okay, yet Chibuku has the bigger market to cater for. Zambia Breweries is dealing with the middle class, which is much smaller. Why? Because Zambia Breweries understands its customer better, and they're delivering value to their customer. Even if the product price is increasing, they're delivering value to their customer. The Chibuku are not, because they were known as cheaper. Their value proposition was always cheaper. But now that they're no longer cheaper in comparison to the Kachasu drum that's created in someone's backyard, what is their value proposition? Are they bigger? Are they better? Are they faster? Are they stronger? What is it? And you can't be stronger with Chibuku. That stuff's already strong itself. But are they bigger, better, faster? What is it that they are delivering? And I think they've lost that. And that is where the fall of that company is coming from. So you have to be careful. This is another cautionary tale on putting yourself at cheaper. The reason I say this is because cheaper products are dependent on the value of the supply chain. If things become expensive, you lose your value proposition. So you have to be very careful about always being cheaper and only being cheaper. Because when things become expensive, like the inputs of your products or the transport services for that, what happens to you as a business? You will fall apart in value proposition. So I just wanted to give an example of Harley Davidson, who did well to connect deeply in a different way, but Chibuku, who did it in a pure numeric way, and then when things got too expensive, they're falling apart to the part where they're struggling. And then also just that explanation of Jesus. Now, I want to get into the main thing, which is good to great. We want to talk about greatness, building a great company, but we just wanted to talk about building a durable company and building and delivering value as an importance. I just wanted to give some background to this book, Good to Great. And this is the summary introduction. It says, can a company make the transition from good to great? If so, how? Through extensive research, Jim Collins identified a number of timeless principles that help a small group of companies to break away from the rest consistently and outperform the market in the book Good to Great. And here's what we talk about. He started with 1,435 good companies, and then he identified 11 great companies. Abbott, Circuit City, Fannie Mae, Gillette, Kimberly-Clark, Kroger, Nucor, Pitney Bowes, and all these, Wells Fargo. And he looked at some principles. And here are the things he talks about when he talks about great companies. The good to great companies had to be 15 years of cumulative stock returns. In other words, the value of the company kept on going up and up, a distinctive point of transition where they went from okay to fantastic, and then followed by an even 3 times higher growth in the value of the company. So he started looking at companies that were publicly traded in terms of greatness. And he talks about that transition. So let's talk about the first pinnacle that he talks about here. And he says the first pillar is level 5 leadership. And I'm going to introduce this point here. We're using the Read graphics summary here, notes that we can just give you. Everyone can check these out. He talked about at a time of the transition from good to great, the company had a level 5 leader, and a level 5 leader at the top of the hierarchy who exhibited what's called the duality of personal humility and professional will. And some examples, obviously, he talked about were Coleman, Mockrell, and these were just examples. But he talked about professional will being that they have huge ambitions for the company and not themselves. Okay, so you got to understand they have huge ambitions for the company, not just themselves, and they're fanatically driven to deliver results and set exact standards and demonstrate unwavering resolve and their doggedness to do whatever it takes to get to greatness. However, he talked about personal humility of a level 5 leader is somebody who puts their ego aside and focuses on the company's long-term returns and interest. They demonstrate a compelling modesty. Whenever they talk company. It's not all about public praise. It's not about being boastful. They rely on inspiration and not charisma to motivate people. So they are the inspiration, not just trying to be a charismatic leader like unfortunately our preachers have become these days, but we're hoping that we can have a change in that realm. But they set standards, they set up successes so that the company will be able to go on even though they are not there. So the combination of having someone at the top who's professional, okay, puts the company's interest at the forefront. But they also have that humility and they focus on inspiring people. Now, humility, people, is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. And in other words, thinking of the good of the company, the good of the stakeholders, the good of, when you're thinking about the good of the group, as opposed to the interest of yourself all the time, that kind of leads to that level 5 leadership. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on the Shadrick?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic one, and I liked where it talked about professional will. All right, as level 5 leaders have huge ambitions for their institutions, not themselves. Now, having huge ambitions for your business and not yourself, as a way it affects your behavior. All right, as a professional, like we said earlier, if your business means something to you, your value will not just be about the products, but also about your behavior. You're going to uphold certain standards of behavior so that you don't put your business in jeopardy from the clients and the customers. So professional will, he says, they talk about the company, not themselves. No, I'm going to give an example. My company was providing some tents somewhere in Garden House. There was the beef floor was performing there for some kids at some school. So I was seated next to some lady. I did not know this is the lady that is involved into this procurement stuff, whatever thing they do. So as we were chatting, I mentioned that, you know what, I was talking about my company and how I plan to extend it and things like that. Then she tells me, oh, so you are the people that brought this. I say, yes, actually, I'm looking for tents. So how do I get in touch with you? So she tells me, can you submit your company profile so that you can put in the system? Next time we want to do business, we are going to call you. So what do I do? The following morning, she sends me a WhatsApp message. Send your company profile to this email. I send the email to the company. 6 months, 7 months, 9 months later, I receive an email that I'm being invited to tender for some, for some job that was supposed to deliver tents and mobile toys and stuff like that. Why did that woman give me a contact? It's because I was not talking about myself. I was talking about my business. So she said, oh, actually, we're looking for somebody who can provide us with tents. We do these things more often than not. So I was able to get business through talking about my business. But if you make conversations about you are marketing you, and people don't like it when you talk so much about yourself, right? Human beings, we like talking about ourselves. That's how we are wired. It's not a problem. That's the way we are, guys. We feel good to talk about ourselves. And that's a very bad marketing strategy. If we can begin to talk more about our businesses, because when you are with me, you sell some tokens. Can you talk about just how do you know? Maybe I need some tokens. So talk about what you sell. This is what we even see on social media, guys. You are going to see you guys here. You've done very fantastic when it comes to your businesses. Every time you are posting about business, or talking about education, talking about sales, Kenny. I'm talking about what I offer, right? But there are lots of people around our age and younger, even older. They post pictures of themselves looking good. The difference between us and those people that us are making money out of social media. Them, they are making likes out of social media. Now you can't take likes to your bank. So that's the part we have to reach as a people and understand that it's not about you, it's about your business. Once in a while you can post your picture, there's nothing wrong. But do you really think if people reacted to your picture, it's going to improve your bank account? It won't. So it's a very important point. Professional will. Can you focus more on your business, marketing your business? Every time you go, I went to an event for a Black Panther stream. I met with Dr. Mjajati, all right, and I told him about my business and what I do. I did not go to tell him, no, Dr. Mjajati, I'm an accountant. Yes, no, I was talking about what I do and talk to couples about family finance. Why am I telling this man about my business? Because I'm hoping maybe someday he's going to need my services. Going to remember there's a gentleman I met who does family finance. He does personal finance. He's going to call me. All right. So when you meet people, reduce more of talking about yourself. Don't make it be about you. Make it about your business. At the end of the day, you won't take the likes to your bank. You need money to pay bills. So and that's the part that I really liked. And remember, you did mention about personal humility. All right. I think that's also a very key for a business leader. Like I said earlier, a business leader who has bad habits is going to soon become an employee. All right. An employee with good habits is soon going to become an employer, because professional also requires that you attach value to habits. And guys, just a quick one. I wanted to bring this definition of value again to our audience so that maybe we can be able to understand what we are talking about here. Look at this definition here of value. And I like the way they've defined it. Google says that, can you see the screen, guys?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so it says that value is the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. Look at division number 2. It says principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life. Professional comes into play. So value is not just about a product you are offering. Value also is about the standards of behavior as a business. How do you treat your clients? You can't treat your clients like a bus conductor. When they want to go into to get on board, they are so nice. The moment you are on board, they can insult you and slap you. All right. So you want to uphold certain kinds of principles as a business, but also as people within the institution. Now, professional means that people are willing to sacrifice for the business more than they are willing to sacrifice for themselves. Now, if you have a team like that, guys, you've hit the jackpot, because now you're going to build a very great business. So if you are not educated, don't think of value as acquiring an education. Think about what is it that makes you special. Think about your behaviors. Think about the principles that you uphold. How can you apply those things to your business and see your business great? Because remember, there are people who are so talented. We don't call them for events to come and perform because maybe they have a certain kind of behavior that is very much toxic to the audience. There are people who have very good products, but nobody buys from them because they don't know how to treat customers well. There are a lot of talented tailors who are able to make a suit very nice, but they have lost business because they take too long. They don't handle customer disputes very well. They are losing business. So value in itself as a business, it goes beyond you creating a product benefits the client, but also looks at the behaviors, the values you uphold as a whole, as a business owner, but also as your business. And I think, guys, that's a very fantastic and amazing point to think about for all business owners. What's your take, guys?
I want to, just before Kenny comes in, I want to bring in a point on that Jim Collins himself actually stated. He said, and this is a quote of his, he said, if you are channeling your ego and energy towards something that is fundamentally about you and your benefit, it becomes difficult to rally people around you. And he also said, if you are channeling your ego and energy towards something that benefits the company, community, or a cause, then it becomes easier to rally people around you. So if the destination of impact is about you, and this is what I've talked about with entrepreneurs who everything is about their own profit, your employees will struggle to work to rally behind you. They'll struggle. But if there's a cause or something that they're contributing towards, or there's something great that they're building towards, then it makes it easy to rally around you as a leader. So I think that was where he summed it up in that, especially that second part of personal humility and professional will. It's not about you at the end. Yes, you will benefit. You'll be profitable. It pays you, but it's not about you. There's a higher meaning than just you. Kenny, what is your take on this whole thing of professional will and personal humility, creating level 5 leadership that takes people to greatness?
First things first is doing what it takes to make it great. This statement Jim Collins made me think of two people. I'll take an Africa example, and I also use David. You see, David is a practical example of making something great. When he arrives at a situation, right, and then flips it upside down, he finds everybody scared of fighting because whoever goes in first loses the fight, means that they're in captivity. So no one wants to make the move. Even the guys with Goliath don't want to make a move. So he comes in and basically addresses the situation. Another example from an Africa perspective is Shaka. Shaka is trying to solve a problem. He comes and says, this warfare is not right. This is not the way you're supposed to win warfare. You must subdue the enemy and then make sure you crush them. Then even develops the tools. When he's reported to be doing things that are crazy, he goes before the king and he is asked to defend himself. And he explains, what if tomorrow the enemy decides that warfare isn't what you think it is? So he's asked now to get 50 volunteers to join him. And these are volunteers. So they have no idea what Shaka is all about, but they still join him. Then there's something he says to them after he gives a speech in the movie where he talks about a leopard. He says, for a leopard to eat, it must hunt. And in order for it to hunt and catch its prey, it must run faster. Okay? It must run faster than its prey, otherwise it won't eat. So meaning you have to be better than, you have to be better than the person you're trying to serve, so that they benefit from what you're doing. Then he makes a promise to the soldiers. He says, if you achieve this, I promise you greatness. He's not specific in terms of what he's promising them. It's just like the way Moses said, I'm taking you to the promised land. People had no idea what the promised land actually, he just said milk and honey. And, people supported a culture, right? Now, what was amazing about his training is that he led by example. He ran faster than the soldiers. He did everything better than them. And so they were looking up to him. When he finally achieves what he wanted them to become, he even looks at them and tells them, look, guys, now you have reached the pinnacle level that I wanted you to reach. And that's when he introduces the strategy, the cow horn formation. First, he runs them through a series of training where they're running and doing these hard things. Okay, so he doesn't bash them, but he teaches them strong principles that help them become better people. After that, they start achieving success. Whichever war they find themselves in, they actually win. Now, it's unfortunate.
Have we lost Kenny?
Wow.
Yes, we have lost Kenny. Okay.
Okay, maybe he'll come back. But I think for now, we'll just have to... I don't know.
I can hear you guys, but my phone is shutting down.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well,
Okay,
unfortunately, Kenny, we'll see you another time. Sorry about that, people. We've lost Kenny, but we did get quite a few insights from him today. That's actually quite good. So it's much longer than we usually did.
He survived longer than usual today.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to
He survived longer than usual. Yeah, that's fantastic.
One of the I did like what he was talking about when he talked about that there was a promise to the people of something greater. Now,
Yeah.
there's the second concept Jim Collins talks about in Built to Last, or at least, sorry, not Built to Last, in Good to Great, is he talks about the first who, then what. And it says that instead of setting a grand vision and strategy, then rallying people behind it, Good to Great leaders got the right people around them, then figured out the direction they want to take. So they kind of
Yeah.
collaborated. They created a collaborative vision with the great people around them. And he says the right people, then the right direction. And this is what he talks about. He says the level 5 leaders will focus on finding the right people, the A team players, and make a conscious decision to take on the challenge. Then develop a strategy, because they're going to develop it around the skill set of people that they have. By contrasting, comparing companies first, they focus first on setting the vision, then people on the roadmap. Their leaders may be, their leaders may be individually talented, but they tend to enlist helpers rather than develop strong executives. And the model fails when the leaders leave. And it's true, because what
Yes. Yes.
happens is that the vision only sits with that leader. And the moment
Yeah.
they leave, this group falls into disarray. So if you kind of have a set of values between each other, and you come together and say, okay, guys, what do we want to build? And we kind of all put it in together. Even if I go, okay, even if I'm
Yeah.
gone, this vision is going to continue because we built this thing together. We didn't just build it alone. I didn't just build it alone and then hire helpers. Then he also talks about being rigorous but not ruthless about people. And he says good to great companies exercise rigorousness in people-related decisions and building superior executive teams. However, they do not carry out endless restructurings nor ruthlessly swing their axe. Layoffs were used 5 times more frequency in comparison companies than good to great companies. So in other words, they don't fire just quickly. They don't lay people off quickly. And he also looked at practical principles to inject rigorousness. So the point we're seeing here is, one, they develop they find the talent and then develop the mission with the talent around them. So the
Yeah.
talent comes together and then they develop a mission together. Okay, what are we going to come about with? And rather than seeking helpers, they're seeking a team. That becomes a team. So if I go, this team is still alive because we built this vision together. Secondly, they don't just swing their axe. They're rigorous about trying to get the right structure of people together, but they're not ruthless. They don't count
Yeah.
people as just expendable. Let's just get rid of them. They try by all means to improve them. And I like that statistics. Layoffs were used 5 times more frequency in non-good to great companies than they were used in good to great companies. So they
Yeah.
show you that they're 80% less likely to lay off people than to
Yeah.
work with them and improve them. So they're always trying to improve and keep people around. Shadrick, what are your views on this? I think we finally got Kenny back. So let's bring him back into the scene. So what are your views, Shadrick, on this view? Kenny, welcome back. On this view of people
Thank
of
you.
level 5 leaders who pick good teams, then build a vision around those good teams, as opposed to building a vision, then a team. And also they are rigorous but not ruthless.
Yes, and I like that part. I like that part. And if you see the way it comes out in this book, it says that the level 5 leaders first focus on finding the right people. All right. Now, here's the issue, guys. For you to find a right employee, sometimes you've got to be a good employer. All right. That's what it means. You don't want to expect good from your employees when you're a bad employer. You are giving them peanuts. All right. When you work with employees, good to great companies, they understand that employees are silent partners. You can't treat them like trash. It's a partnership. And for a partnership to work, there is supposed to be a common benefit, a common goal. If you go to taxation and law, because I have done business law, and in business law, we are taught that any partnership that is formed with no aim of making profit is now and void. It's not qualified to be a partnership. So a partnership should have a common goal. Both of you want to benefit from something. All right. So here, when he says the level 5 leaders first focus on finding the right people, is also, in other words, I'm adding and I'm saying, guys, you can't find the right people if you're a bad employer. All right. So for you to build a stronger team, a team that's going to sacrifice for you more than they should for themselves, you have to be somebody fantastic. Why should I sacrifice for you so much so when you are so bad? Why should I do that? So here, what we are saying that can you begin to treat your employees as your silent partners and begin to consider their views, right? Their expectations, because every employee wants job security. They want career development. They want to feel a sense of belonging. And this is why, if you talk about being rigorous but not ruthless, when you're a company that makes your employees feel like anytime you can kick them out, that will subconsciously demotivate them. They will not do things for you that they otherwise would have done if they were motivated. Right. So I like this aspect. And I just want to tell our audience, those of you who are entrepreneurs, please, before you can say, you know what, my employees are bad, sit yourself and ask yourself, are you a good employer yourself? Do you treat your employees as equal, silent partners? All right. Partly because if an employee is demotivated, do you really think you can expect maximum result from a demotivated employee? No. And I'm going to give you an example of what happens in most government institutions. Here's what happens, guys. If you go to government institutions, you're going to find people that have worked for 30 years, 20, 10, 15, 30 years. These people have got the technical know-how, they have the qualifications, they know the system inside out. Now, what happens every 5 years? Governments change. So when the government changes, you see cadres coming to head departments that are important for the government institutions. All right. Today you've worked for 30 years. A cadre comes and is a permanent secretary because he knows somebody who knows somebody. All right. Do you think a man working under this cadre, that woman working under this cadre, is going to be motivated to do the best that they can? No, they won't. All right, because already they've been demotivated. It's like they are there, but they are not there. No one sees them. So that kind of mentality is why we keep seeing corruption every now and then. It will never end because people who should be professional are not given those jobs. You are promoting people who are not supposed to be promoted into important positions. It's the same in business. Can you identify key employees? All right. Can you identify key employees and motivate them? Yes, animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. That's just the fact. There are talented people on your team. Can you identify those and grow with them? Let them feel a sense of belonging to the business. This is why you see that the company owner is not there, but the supervisor is, people can't steal because the supervisor, they are scared. In some companies, a supervisor will be in the forefront of stealing from the business. Do you know why? Because nobody cares about the business. But in some companies, just a simple supervisor, all employees will be scared. No, there's a supervisor here. Do you know why? Because the supervisor feels a sense of belonging and is willing to do anything that they can to protect the interests of the business. And they are hated for that. No, it's partly because they feel a sense of belonging. So can you have a team of people who are going to stand for you in your absence as a business? I think that's very much fundamental. It begins by treating people well and promoting the right people to key positions. All right, delegate important tasks. Don't just see in football. We saw where that coach for Cristiano Ronaldo, what did he do? 5 minutes before he tells them now start warming up. The man refuses. Say, you know what? You don't teach me how to play football. I know how to kick the ball, but do you have to disrespect me to this level? So once an employee feels demotivated, their performance goes. See how Ronaldo has suffered this season. He's not performed very well because he was demotivated. And his interview opened up. He says, you know what? Team feeling is everything. If you feel that your team member is someone against you, it affects your performance on the pitch. So it's the same with business. Once your employees feel like you don't care about them, they are not going to give you the best. So can you call them? When you see they are looking like they are sad, ask them, why do you look like this today? So that you find out, okay, are you okay? Is everything okay? Be an observant business owner. You know the moods of the people that you work with. Today you look for everything okay. No, how is your son was sick? How is your mom? How is your sister was not feeling well? How is your wife? Have a personal interest. That way, this are going to affect you. Just not care about them working for you, but also you care about them personally, genuinely. Let it be genuine. And I think I love those 2 points that this man brings out in his book, guys. They are quite fantastic points. And I would like to see our audience, what they think about this discussion. Yeah.
So when it comes to, and it's something I wanted to add to that, is that he also stresses this thing of co-creation of strategy. What's his name? The head of Nike, the founder of Nike, Phil Knight. He said once, So I don't know if, yeah, okay, I think we've got him back. Phil Knight once said, he says, don't tell people what to do. Don't tell people how to do what they need to do. Tell them what to do and let them surprise you with the method. And what he was trying to say is, let them kind of have a stake in what and how we're doing things. And even Jim Collins here is talking about the fact, and it's actually quite important, of let them feel like they also have some ownership of the vision of the company. You know
Yes,
that famous
yes,
story of the gentleman who was mopping the floors at NASA, who said, we're sending a man to space. When asked, what are you doing, he didn't say, I'm mopping the floors. He said, I'm sending a man to space, because he felt like he was part of the team. Now, whether that story is true or not, the essence of it is that you have a person in a team who feels as though they're playing a pivotal role in getting to
yeah,
a mission or a goal. So I think, in addition to everything you're talking about, Shadrach, include your team in the formation of strategy.
yeah,
Include them. They're the frontline people. What are they seeing? What can they see? What can they contribute to it? It also helps. You can have a general vision or direction you'd like to go, but they also need to be included in how they're actually trying to get there as a team. So I think that's really important for us to understand. Now, going into the next part, in terms of the next pillar of a good to great company, is what he talks about when he says confronting brutal facts but never losing faith. Let's go through what he talks about here. He says good to great companies do not just pursue a vision. They
yeah,
constantly refine their path with brutal facts. Okay, they understand the truth with brutal facts, with two types of disciplined thoughts. They face brutal facts in all their decisions. They apply a simple but insightful frame of reference. This is part of the hedgehog concept for all their decisions. Is this something we should be doing? Okay, and this is called the Stockdale paradox, which is broken into two elements.
yeah,
Confront brutal facts. And he says, confronting brutal facts, good to great companies create an environment where the truth can be heard. By contrast, larger than life charismatic leaders can become a liability if they focus on them rather than the true reality. In other
yes,
words, you have to kind of check whether this is actually happening in your business. And the other
yeah,
thing he says is, you have to mix this with unwavering faith. There is a sense
yeah,
of euphoria in good to great companies, as they demonstrate a commitment to prevail. They face the truth head on and emerge stronger and more resilient. So they all demonstrate the Stockdale paradox, where they retain the faith that they will prevail in the end. At the same time, they exhibit discipline to confront brutal facts to their current realities, and they are not simply optimists who believe that they will overcome. So this is a very important principle. Okay,
yeah, very important.
people tend to not like the truth. So facing the truth is extremely important, but still having a very strong ability to still have faith that you can overcome it. Maybe because of the inspiration of the vision that you're overcoming. Kenny, hopefully you can try and give us a thought or two on this one. Of one,
Before
facing
you
brutal
disappear.
facts. One, facing brutal facts, and two, keeping the faith. Okay, I think Kenny is not with us. Shadrach, I
Okay,
think
Kenny.
takes from here. Yeah.
All right. Now, Mnyumba, that's a very important concept. And this is just, I think it's just about, even at a personal level,
Yep.
away from business, people don't like to face facts. And I use an example of relationships. There are some ladies right now who are stuck with morgans, and they know it. But you know what? They don't want to confront the fact that this man is not going to take me anywhere. They are stuck. They are comforting themselves with a morgan. Right now, they'll go all the way to labor ward. All right. And then they say it's change, but it's not change. It's been like that. You refuse to accept the first time you notice the change. And the first time you notice man like this. Can we normalize accepting facts? Right? Sometimes accepting facts, it means that it's gonna hurt you, but you have to accept it anyway and move on. It means be willing to let go and be willing to change. When a client complains about certain kind of thing that you do, don't defend yourself. Accept the counsel and see whether you can improve on something. So if we have habits of not being able to accept facts, we are going to be what happened to Nokia. Nokia refused to accept facts that technology had advanced. They refused. They said we are the people that are the giants for many years, global giants. They didn't accept the fact that there was now iOS, there was Android. These two softwares were kicking them out of business. They refused to work with other people because they didn't want to accept the facts. So the moment you begin to accept the facts, it's going to help you to come up with remedial actions to do better. All right. So if you notice a change, be willing to accept it and improve. Don't be stuck. Look at Zampost. Look at Zampos, look at Zohona, look at Zambian Lotto, look at several other companies that didn't want to accept that technology was advancing. And I like what banks have done. Guys, I was a coordinator. I was heading the Southern Province and Western Province under DSS for Zanaco. All right. Guys, I saw how accounts were being opened. The banks responded very quickly to Airtel Money, MTN Money, and these mobile money services. They responded. They came up with ways of making these cash plus outlets, Zanaco Express agents. They were doing all those kind of things in response to what? To mobile money. They saw that it is more convenient for people. Why should I go to the bank and stay on the line when I can just go to a booth on my neighbor's yard and get my money? All right. So what did banks do? Banks accepted the fact that they were being kicked out of business by what? By mobile money agents. What do? They made more ATM centers, more express agents. They responded because they didn't want to be in denial. So when you don't accept the facts, you'll be the kind of business owner who is in denial. You know what? Demand is shifting. People are no longer buying from me, but you keep forcing them to buy what they don't want to buy from you. So can you migrate? Can you evolve? Can you move from what has always been good to you and focus on what is going to be good for the customer? Accepting the facts, even the brutal facts, is such a very important issue, guys.
And also added to that, keeping faith. The problem I've seen is that when a vision is inspiring enough, let me give you the story of David and Goliath, as from the view of Malcolm Gladwell. Malcolm Gladwell said David changed the method of battle because he knew that hand-to-hand combat Goliath would have beaten him. He knew, okay? So it was a brutal fact that Goliath was going to defeat him in hand-to-hand combat. That's why Goliath said, "Come." He said, "Come, that I may kill you and feed your flesh to the birds." Because Goliath knew that he could only beat him. So David then innovated. He kept the faith because he had a vision. He had to protect a kingdom. That's what he viewed. He spent his life protecting sheep. So he knew that he was a protector. That thing he knew very well, and he knew he could do it. So he was very good with the sling. So once he accepted the fact, because Goliath was playing with his ego, okay? Because Goliath was goading him to come and fight him hand to hand. Come and prove you're a man.
He was very intimidative, actually. He intimidated him so much. He told him, what? How would you send this tiny thing to come and fight me? He felt so disrespected. And that was very intimidating for David. For every other fighter, people were scared. Yeah.
He could have been sucked into going to him hand to hand, trying to be prideful. But what facing facts sometimes do is also facing your own pride. It's facing your pride and saying, at this juncture, and sometimes when you're a small business people, you'll say, at this way, I cannot defeat the giants in my industry. That's a brutal fact, okay? A brutal fact is the company X can sell a product cheaper than you, and you can't sell it cheaper because you're a small business. That's a brutal fact, okay? Yeah. Then you have to figure out, okay, so if I can't be cheaper, what can I be? Can I be simpler? Can I be better? Can I be faster? Can I be stronger? Keeping the faith is then saying, okay, this is an issue, but how do I get around it? Innovators, people who innovate, face reality, but then they change reality, okay? They don't pretend reality doesn't exist. They change reality. Okay, and that's what innovation is. It's about looking at the reality that you have in front of you for what it is. You don't have the capital that you have. You don't have access to the capital that you wish you could have. That is a brutal fact. Now, how do you still build your business? That is maintaining unwavering faith. Okay, that is why you have to mix these two together. You have to accept reality, but still have the faith that you can overcome reality.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can do it through innovation by looking at your strengths and everything. But you are not going to do it by, and I've seen too many small businesses, Shadrick, in this country, where they spend all day complaining about access to capital. And that becomes the major issue. Access to capital, we can't get it. And therefore we cannot proceed. So let's go into the final, we'll just quickly run through the final three, because these are the accelerators. Or what we'll do is we'll actually put in a part 2 to this. So please come in next week as well. We'll put in a part 2 to this, where we're going to go through the final three when it comes to greatness. But just to kind of summarize, so the next 3 points are called the hedgehog principle, a culture of discipline, and technological accelerators. But the three that we've really talked about in terms of building good to great and going from good to great is, one, having level 5 leaders who have professional will and personal humility, who put the company ahead of themselves and put the team spirit above their own ego. The second thing is they form teams, and then together with their executive team, not the whole company, but their executive team, or you form a founders team. You want to start a company, you form a founders team. Together, you manifest a vision. Together, you put this vision together. And then they build it, but they're rigorous but not ruthless. They don't just fire people on will. They always try and look at how to improve them. And the third is they confront brutal facts. They accept reality, but they work around it by innovating around it. And they have a belief they can overcome their reality. They don't pretend it doesn't exist. They have a belief. We'll go through the next three. Please tune in next week around the same time, where we're going to drill down into the next 3 factors. Well, and then the concept of what we call the flywheel of takeoff, what takes that breakthrough moment of your good to great company. And also, finally, I also want to talk about building your company around a community, a cause, and a culture. Those are going to be all packed into next week as we go, and please tune in next week. But the reason I think we talked about this, Shadrick, is no country can become a great country without building great companies. You cannot point at a great country that does not have great companies. China has got great companies. Japan has got great companies. Germany has got great companies. England has got great companies. America has got great companies. You cannot build a great country without building great companies. So let's start working at not just aspiring to be rich. And yes, we can. We want to build money. We want to have wealth. Yes. But let's do stuff that's great, people. Let's become great as a nation and exceptional. And those are my final words for today. But please tune in next week as we finish this good to great conversation. Shadrick, what are your final words for today?
We've talked about building, good to great. And I want to say that, guys, value is everything. When we are entrepreneurs, we make money, right, out of exchanging value with other people. I don't really have to love what I do so much for me to benefit from it, because business success is not about me. It's about the other person. What does it mean to the next guy? So the more it means to the next guy, the more the next guy is willing to pay more money for it, right? So we exchange advice for money. As a financial advisor, you come, you sit down, I give you advice, you give me money. So my values depend upon how beneficial is it to you. So guys, can we focus on building real value? Remember, I talked about value can be seen in 2 standards of behavior, right? Also about yourself. So value should be seen from the point of view of the client. And if you're a business owner, like I said, a business owner who has poor habits will soon become an employee. An employee with good habits will soon become an employer. So it's key that you have standards of behavior as a business owner. Use social media to market your business. I think that's one of the points I would like to end with, Mnyumba. It's about you talking about your business, professional will. Market your business. Yes, you can post your picture from now and then, it's all right, but are you going to take the likes to your bank account? What is it that you have that can add value to me that I'm willing to pay for? So if I don't see it, I can't pay for it. No matter how good you are at something, if nobody knows you, you are nothing. So keep showing up on social media, keep posting so that we can be able to see what you are saying and we're going to buy from you if it adds value. So it's about value in the eyes of the client.
Customer. Kenny, as we're closing up, we're now in our final words here, and I think hopefully you haven't missed out, but we are going to continue the final 3 concepts of good to great, talking about the flywheel of greatness, and also building the 3 C's: culture, community, and cause around your business. That'll all be done next week. But what are your final statements on what we have talked about today? Just in a quick summary, just a minute or two, or just a minute quickly about.
A minute. If you tell him to use that before.
Under a minute about the 3 components we've talked about of going from good to great.
Sorry, I didn't get the question properly, but just to say this quickly, today I've refused to die. So I'm here to
unwavering faith, people. Unwavering faith.
Exactly. Right, I've said today it's on. We have to set
all the way to the end.
Yeah. So what's the question properly? I need to understand the question before I.
No, I'm saying what are your final statement in under a minute? Your final statement on our journey from good to great. Our talks about.
So we can make some shout out to our audience.
You see, it's strange. My daughter was just reminding me of a video that I shared of a Chinese praying. Then he puts a ladder and jumps. Then another guy comes, prays, and gets a spore and jumps over a bridge. An African comes, prays, and then jumps into the what you call this, the gap where they're supposed to be bridged. Meaning there was no innovation applied, and this is what makes companies good, and this is what makes them great. There's a sense of application of knowledge that you apply to make your organization great. It's not about you; it's about the people you're trying to serve. And just quickly, let me just say this. I wanted to tell you guys that I learned of a big organization in Solwezi, a mine, that got bailiffed, okay? Because they lost the case, they didn't want to pay, they didn't want to settle. The MD was not aware, only until the bailiffs rolled up and took their computers and things like that. When the HR got suspended, the line manager got suspended because they were being rigid. You understand? Something they would have easily avoided that ended up disrupting their operation. I wanted to say that because Shadrick was talking about proper management of your team. If you're a leader, make sure that you create an environment that's enabling for your team to thrive. What we want to do is change the culture in the way our employees work and make it a positive environment for them to deliver. So you work together, like you were saying, they're silent partners. You know, they may not be actual shareholders, but to a large extent, they do have a share because they're bringing in the revenue. It doesn't matter which department. So I wanted to put that down, very important, that a big mine got bailiffed, guys. Bailiffed. Can you believe it? Computers taken, so. And it's a mine. I won't mention which one. Or because of the adamants, that culture we're talking about, where you don't believe the people who won the court case should get the monies. Because as management, you spend half your time blocking people from thriving and stopping them from existing in their purpose, you understand? Instead of encouraging them, being a level 5 leader. And then there's this whole degree culture going on. What you need is just competent people who can get the job done. That's what you need. Guide them. Partner for profit for a long time with them. That's one of the things that is taught in Good to Great. Their companies don't just hire and fire people anyhow. They grow with them. You understand? They achieve milestones together. So that's what I wanted to say in conclusion.
Okay, so
all right.
as we point out here, people, greatness is something you should aspire to. You're meant for it. You're meant for greatness. And in the essence of time, we'd like to thank everyone.
Now, Nyumba, just a moment. Yeah. I think just a second before I leave. You know, there's some names that I feel like I know them personally. All right, maybe we can just make some shout outs, like names like, you know, Francesca. I feel like I know Francesca. I keep seeing her comments. I keep seeing her participation. I think we are very good, Francesca. Please keep coming back. We appreciate your participation. I keep seeing Francesca. I keep seeing Bernard. These are the names that keep popping up every now and then. So, guys, thank you so very much for showing up. We appreciate your participation. Thank you so very much, guys. Mwenya, regular participant. Thank you so very much, Mundia. All the time I see your names, Prince. So these are the people that I keep seeing every now and then. Kangwa, thank you very much, guys. So, guys, we thank you so much, and over to you, Mnumba. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much once again, team, and thank you for everyone who comes to join us every single weekend. You spend an hour and a half with us talking business, trying to look at ways you can improve your businesses, and that also is one of the things we cannot take away from all of you who are fundamentally looking for ways to improve. That's a sign of greatness right there. That's the source of greatness, looking for ways to try and improve. And I wish everybody, I'd just like to take this moment to wish everybody a wonderful week. I wish you all God's blessings. I hope that everyone who's watching and listening, whatever business ventures you go into, may God guide your steps, and may He improve every inch, and may He unlock every opportunity that you are so seeking so hardly in your heart. And God bless. Everyone must win in this country. For this country to win, everyone should win, not just some, everyone. So thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed week.
Bye-bye.